Good morning. Thank you for the start to the stream. Morning, Grumpy. Captain Coda, Dota. How you doing? No worries. Enjoy your adulting. Thank you very much. Hey, Surly. How you doing? Well, that triggered me to start the stream fast, didn't it? Absolutely. No worries. Thank you for the luck. I appreciate it. Okay. Well, I didn't even get set up properly yet then. So, game dev day today. Back on Godot. Although we don't lurk on Grubstream, we lurk. I wish I could say I'd never made that typo. I think it's left to right to the right, right to left to, yeah. There is one thing before I actually start on game dev stuff that I wanted to look at, that I might actually pick up tomorrow, depending on how this goes. If I make a load of progress today, then I'm going to continue making the progress on the game stuff. But it is something I want to look at, and it's actually something, the way I want to approach it is, so we have water drink water, and the purpose of water drink water is to be a demonstrator application, right? It's to provide an application that can be discussed, can be worked on, and whatever, and provide the ability to experiment as well. So the clients right now, I've created the Blazor WebAssembly version. I was watching Nick Chapsas's stream the other day, and he demonstrated a relatively new library. Really hasn't. It's accelerated in the last couple of months. Basically, it's a library for an alternative to Blazor, essentially. It uses JavaScript interrupt, and allows you to create components and do all these things. So I am tempted to do a stream on picking this up and showing it as an alternative and building out the alternative UI to the Blazor app, because this is a technology that people are kind of keeping an eye on. There's I don't know why you'd use HTMX over Blazor Razor or whatever, though. I'm not sure. I mean, a lot of stuff comes down to preference, right? It does definitely come down to Hydra. That's not Hydro, that's Hydra. Yeah. So whatever makes you feel comfortable building applications, I think. One Lion, thank you for the resub. Appreciate that. Perfect way to start a week. Thank you very much. Hope your weekend was relaxing. Yeah, so it's something that I probably want to play with. I don't want to do it today. I'm going back to game dev right this second, because I've had enough of application stuff this last week. I see the problem that Alpine.js solves. HTMX is solving the same problems baked in .NET solutions, though. But that's the problem, right? Well, it's not the problem. It's just because the technology does things doesn't mean that there isn't different ways to do it, better ways to do it, more opinions, right? We live in a world full of opinions, right? And if someone thinks they can do it better, they're going to go off and try and do it better. Maybe they do get it better. Just because it has been done doesn't mean you can't try and make it better, right? It wasn't relaxing, but for good reason. I'm going to go to think my wife and I finished our Ethical Health campaign. Okay. Well, yeah. Nice. Okay, speaking of opinions, I re-looked at story pointing and realised a bunch of my argument was invalid. Okay. That's growth, reflecting on even your own opinions. Yeah, I was reading through it. I didn't ignore the article. I was reading through your article. I had it up somewhere in one of these. I was reading it yesterday. Hi Phil Schnabel, how you doing? When I wrote out the argument in code, I realised it made no sense. Very solid way of looking at it. I actually started. I got distracted yesterday, but I actually did start writing some opinions of my own on it. Like I was going to try and write something, and I started, and then I got asked, "Where's lunch?" So I kind of got distracted. So I have to see if I can reform those opinions. So yeah, today will definitely be game dev, but I may pick up this and build a drink water alternative UI. How do you get over the garbage in, garbage out aspect of story points? Developer tasks are inherently high risk, not easy to estimate. I think the problem for me is most of what I've seen is failure. Not necessarily failure to get stuff done, but failure to actually adopt the real the practices that were intended when they were kind of discussed and designed, etc. I've seen people try to force the pointing. I've seen one thing that has worked in general that I allow the team to get a reference. So they work on stuff for a little while. They figure out, okay, these stories kind of follow a pattern. These kind of all fit in this window. We can use this. This is a reference. So when we're pointing, they've got something to base their estimates off. Again, everything's estimation, but it should be a team, not a group, right? So the overall organization doesn't dictate the pointing for a team. But you tell them to say, hey, what's your 3 points for each team? And each team references off their own 3-point measure. I can't get past the only person that should point the task is the developer working on it. No. I mean, the person who's the point of Agile is to be flexible on that stuff, right? So that, again, different concepts combining together. You've got, I don't agree with QA pointing. I definitely believe that business should stay well away and not influence the developers, right? The developers should never feel a pressure to put a point on it, right? I think other developers should be part of pointing, because then what you get is you allow for that inexperience versus, experience with a code base. I might know something about the code base that you don't, so I might have that in the back of my head. The point of group pointing is hopefully to pull out the assumptions, because we all have assumptions about the way the code works, right? So what you want to do is kind of present the story and base the pointing off that, your understanding of the code. So that intern should feel comfortable to say, I think that's an 8 point. and then the senior developer in the team say, "Oh no, that's actually a 3-point, in my opinion," and then the intern go, "Oh, okay." So do group point some do group pointing to foster discussion. If someone estimates 1 and one estimates 13, then it's interesting to know the difference, right? And I think it's a useful mechanism for removing assumption. It might take him 8 points of thinking. Well, that's not pointable effort, right? The points are meant to be the work, not the actual time thinking about something. That intern might do the same 3 points, but take 5 days as the senior developer. That might take 1 day to do 3 points, right? I mean, interns are typically slower. That's their biggest weakness, in my opinion. Right, but you can't expect them to be faster. I think interns are clever. They might lack experience, but they can think. And sometimes they overestimate things because of all pain. Yeah. We use this point estimating method sometimes, and it's a mess. Sometimes we estimate it, but that's the problem. That's why it's a mess, because you're mixing and matching and not committing. And also then it says all it needs to say, right? It's like, okay, we're kind of committed to it, but we're not really kind of committed to it. I put interns on separate projects usually. Sometimes we use a tool to anonymously estimate. Sometimes we drop the number in Zoom chat. Yeah, pointing poker is a better way, because it does a lot. It should prevent influence. That's the argument. Just count stories, which I agree with more. So I'll let them estimate their own projects. Yeah, if you're working as part of a team, if you're actually working on the same software platform, I can definitely see that pointing has its issues, right? But it's normally when the process is waylaid by the need to get stuff done, right? Or like in that case, right, where you're saying, "Oh, we'll use pointing," but then also it's 3 days, right? Now, what's useful is if you can look back and see how accurate you were, right? Yeah, planning. Yeah. we avoid the hard parts, so then we just go back and round. Yeah. No, the point of Agile is to adapt your plans, really. Agile is not about making no plans. It's about being willing to change your plans and make sure that you don't go all in on, well, we said we'd do it, therefore we'll do it. Right? It's the ability to adapt and to change out what you're doing based upon need. We'll catch up with that in a second. That is what the PMO thought when introduced Agile and another plan. I keep telling my manager that it's hard to estimate things because it's stuff we've never touched. How would I know how long it's going to take me otherwise? So I've done D, for example, because I've never done it. Ask me how long it would take to Bristol, London. Then I can make a reasonable guesstimate, as I've done that before. Right, but even that guesstimate is based upon a previous experience, and it's not guaranteed that it won't take you 3 hours longer because, someone drove into a bridge or something, right? There's all manner of reasons that can make it take longer, but you don't know it, and you can't assume, oh, well, it's going to take 7 hours, but it's normally 3, right? Estimates are a cost thing in your mind. Great, I don't have to think anymore. The devs just start working, and our tech is stack is crazy stupid. You can't know it all. No, but I know it's not very likely to. Right, and it's not. And again, experience. If you don't know stuff, that's the point at which you have to admit you don't know stuff. And pointing, what you're meant to do with pointing is allow for a certain amount of unknown. If there's too much unknown, the dev team should be given the time to go and discover what those unknowns are, and if there's value, right? The problem is if it's figuring out what needs to be done is going to basically be doing the work. if you make that argument, then you might as well just get rid of points entirely, right? Because it's like, so what you need to do is take a higher level look at the code and say, okay, well, we got this part, this part, this part, this part. Here's the unknowns. I know what I don't know. Therefore, allow for that in the pointing and pad by a point or two, right? Or whatever. Same thing you do with the trip estimation. You're not, again, if you're pointing the trip as a 3, but, you know, based upon past experiences, then it's a 3. If it now takes you twice as long, that's okay. You can allow for that. It's an anomaly. It's okay. It's okay for that still to be pointed a 3. With retrospective, you can say, well, what took longer there? Oh, well, there was an accident. Okay, that's fine. We can't help that. It took what it took. It's the point at which you say, okay, well, no, next time it should be a 5 because obviously an accident might happen, so we need to allow for that. I mean, if that's the way you want to go, but it's not good. A 1-day task can turn into a 2-day task easily enough, and right, but that's saying again that the estimation is there's too much unknown. The pointing is meant to allow for some unknown, but if there's too much unknown, you're not meant to point. You're meant to go and figure out what you don't know. I can say, well, if I set off at 1 a.m., I can be there by about 6 a.m. if traffic is empty with marginal roadworks and no road closures. Yeah. If it's an accident, you can add 1 to 12 hours. Yeah. I feel like estimation on individual tasks is the wrong approach. Okay. But it's a problem we're constantly faced with. Whether we give it in time or points, etc., we're never accurate. And we can't be accurate because all manner of things can come up. Again, I mean, I'm not, like this is meant to be my focus, but this is the thing I love, right? So the planning aspect is the part that is bad because we don't get the requirements we need, or we don't get the correct information. So we are bad at gathering information, we are bad at estimating, and we are really good at overestimating our abilities based upon what we think we know, right? So the point of the pointing session is to try and weed out any unknowns, not to just quickly get agreement to move on. An individual pointing something doesn't really mean anything if they're just left in a bubble. Oh dear. Oh well, that's actually my brother, by the way, so he gets away with saying that. In the article I wrote for Garbage In, Garbage Out, I asked ChatGPT for what makes a task easily estimatable and what makes it difficult, and DevWork fits neatly into difficult exclusively and not into the easy. Have you ever heard of the concept of a pre-mortem? No. I've never seen anyone else talk about them. Huh. Interesting. Actually, I need to remember what this was doing. So, well, I can cheat. I can go out the bounds of the map. Okay, so we got that working. We didn't get the bullets rotating again. That's what was wrong there. Everyone in a project gets together and throws out ideas of things that can go wrong, and then you decide what you would do to mitigate the issue. Oh no. Well, isn't that kind of... Well, but that seems like that flies in the face of things like Yagni, right? Or and that creates a defensive attitude. Potentially. That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, that's what I've been working on Mondays and Tuesdays for the last couple of weeks. Trying to break away a little bit of stress from app dev. My concern there would be like planning for what can go wrong. So you're going to write, when it comes to coding, you're going to code for what you think can go wrong when you don't have any proof that it can go wrong. Yeah. I, I kind of see the benefit in so much as you can prepare for what's coming. I mean, okay, let's take that. Yeah, that's fine. But it's sitting down and talking about what could go wrong. I mean, you could dream up all scenarios, right? When it comes to writing software, having people who are subject matter experts available to you helps, because you can find out how people are using the software. You shouldn't take everything as at face value. Yeah, you could go to that ultimate oh no, developers should avoid buses, right? You have to evaluate what is reasonable, because we can dream up all sorts of scenarios in the software. But you can't be defensive about what you're writing. And again, the planning meeting, we don't like big meetings, but the planning meeting should be allowed to go on. And the developers, in my mind, when it comes time to pointing, the developers should be honest, and you should be having those meetings a couple of times a week. The bus factor, yeah. That's what my first boss referred to it as. Yep. Is that both? Is that both? Was that intended as some form of pun, Dota, by the way? The lottery factor. It's a little bit less dark, right? Anyway, so if the developers could sit down in planning sessions a couple of times a week based upon their, again, what I want to focus on the main app is cutting down the amount of time developers actually have to spend in the software. Because if developers could sit down and talk about pointing and be honest about pointing, so if I say, hey, that's a 3, and you say that's an 8, there's a disparity, and we should kind of agree, and then it's a time to bring out those assumptions and to bring out those problems. I might be underestimating. You might be allowing for all sorts of crazy stuff to happen. The point is, we have to talk about it to understand where our differences are in our understanding of the code. It's why I think that a reference story, something to reference off of, that you agree is a pretty standard effort in the software, right? So for let's open Liquid Sky. We're talking about it. We're engaged. I'm not too worried about the game dev. So in here, if I say, okay, I need to add an endpoint and update an object, right? That is a pretty common thing I'm going to do in here. So I know there's an endpoint, I know there's an application piece, I know there's probably some domain entity updates, and that's pretty much it. Maybe there's a table to add or something like that, right? So if I say that's a reference story and I say that's 2 points, right, or I say that's 3 points that I can go down, then everything's referenced off of that story. So the effort involved is pretty much a known, well, it is a known quantity in the basic world, right? I'm going to add a table. I'm going to create an entity. That entity is going to have certain behavior. I'm going to add a piece of code to add it in, a command handler, etc., and I'm going to add a new endpoint. That is a 3 points. 3 points gives me half, 1 and 2 as below, and then upwards. Now I have a reference story. The entire team understands how much effort that takes and understands that's 3 points. So everything else becomes referenced against that story in a team, not an organization. The organization's teams should all reference what is their 3 point story, and everything's based off that. If teams are going slower, their 3 points are the same reference, right, to them as ours is to us, and therefore we know speed differences. One of my former team leaders had an investigation done into him by HR because one of the senior developers, a guy from Iran, so maybe there was jealousy he didn't get the role of TL, and also maybe cultural misunderstanding, made a complaint that our TL would often say things like, "What would happen if you got hit by a bus?" But we'd say that to all of us. Oh, so you got someone who was like, didn't understand the... Gotcha. As the argument that all the major market hiccups were totally out of left field, the likelihood in the future of the next market crashes due to something totally unforeseen is 100% also. I have tasks that I can say will be done in 2 days, and it gets done in 2 to 3 days. It happens very regularly. You also have the I will get it done in 2 to 3 days, and you have your own time pressure as well. I got interviewed by HR, and then she told me that our TL had wished Mahmood harm by wishing he got hit by a bus. I literally burst out laughing because I found it so ludicrous. Yeah. Can you fire HR for wasting everyone's time? Not everyone understands the I'm pretty much sure every developer I've ever met understands the bus factor. You know, the irony is we never are very good at it. If you can reimagine Battle Squadron from Mega Drive, I'm sold. You don't have to put Genesis in parentheses for me. I know. I know what the Mega Drive is. It's a major cultural barrier. Yeah, I explained it to her, and I'm sure she gave a smirk when she understood. The answer is to explain the reference. Yeah, I'd forgotten what the Mega Drive was. I investigate everyone in the department. Yeah. But yeah, in terms of pointing, if you have a solid reference story and everything's referenced off of that story, then the goal is that it doesn't matter if I take 3 days and you take 2 days, we have a same understanding of what it is. You can then say, okay, well, why did that take you 3 days? Like, it wasn't that much work. But the team can have that conversation, and the team can understand what was the struggle, where was the challenge, right? Anyway, yeah, that's that. Where was I? Definitely codifying that interaction when you do expect this task done in 2 to 3 days is possibly a good idea. But we are notoriously bad at time estimates. That's why points became a thing. Because, okay, you might say, okay, that's 2 or 3 days. Then I get it, and I don't understand the code. So I've got to take 5 days. And then everyone's like, well, why is it taking 5 days? There's all these things come together, right? Pair programming, teams, actually making a useful collaborative team is part of the challenge. If you don't have a collaborative team, if you have a group of people in your team that don't want to do this because they feel they can do everything based on time, you're fighting from the start to even get there. So they're more likely to throw out points based upon what they think is the right answer rather than what they feel is the actual thing. So you do need a team that is capable of communicating, comfortable working together, right? You need the things to come together. And pair programming for interns. If you want an intern to actually get up to speed or to be productive, you need to make sure they're under someone's wing, essentially, to make sure they are learning and growing and not just being left to do code on their own. If you just want an intern to come in and just do the boring stuff, that's not fair because you're not teaching them anything. 90 times 90 times 90 equals 70 to get all three right. Yeah. So we can't talk about any one thing in isolation. If we want to do agile and we want to do follow those ceremonies, etc., we need the other things to come along, and you need collaboration and commitment. So 9 times out of 10, you get the timing right on the task, but for all three, you're wrong a third of the time. Maybe. There's a nice article, blog post featured on the Morning Brew this morning about pair programming, aimed more towards non-technical people like project managers. Pairing is a very useful technique, and if you actually want more speed in your development teams, pairing is probably the better way as well, because it keeps people focused. Our project manager's idea that pair programming was one of the Polish guys catching up with our team leader once a day to update him on progress. Yeah, no. Actual pairing. So I need a game over screen. Oh, no link. No link privilege, sorry. I got spammed not too long ago, so everything got shut down. So it doesn't often join me in here. That one. Why pair programming should. So it's specifically that article. Yep. Yeah, you don't want to make you don't want to make like pairing silos. That's for certain. No, just from what I've read about that straight away, I can see there's some good points in there. That's some trustworthy reputation. It's just become one of those things. Oh, so therefore it must be mod. Yeah. Okay, so I named that script wrong. Or did I name that script wrong? I'm yet to understand the right naming convention for some of these things. Okay, that's worked. Yeah. That's better. Okay. So my thought here is this needs private export private I don't want a game over scene. Scorekeeper. That's how I got mod in a few streams. I like the quiet streams, single or double digit viewers, and occasionally they hit an issue like that and they get flustered and just say, mod me and I'll deal with it, and you can carry on the stream. Nice. Get tree currency in the scorekeeper. Yeah, but that's not the case. So in the game over, grab that script there. Oh, but I can't do that because that will. I'm lucky that I've not had to deal too much. I mean, I did have one massive bot attack that added like 800 follows and spam the chat, etc. But normally I'm okay. I think they also went after Kanye as well then. Yeah. Yeah. The commands are available in the command line. Twitch don't do a great job of advertising how to deal with certain things. Yeah. No, it visibly irritated me when I got it because it just became frustrating to try and chase and lock down the stream and do all the things that need to be done. That shield mode is okay, but it doesn't help you too much. It doesn't prevent things from happening. Okay, so if I do this, the problem is the scorekeeper there. I add the game over scene in when I'm setting this up. So to get the scorekeeper, I don't have an instance of the game over screen, so I either have to put a game over scene in my main, which doesn't make sense from an organization perspective, or I have to feed this slightly differently, right? So let me close this one down. So this has to be scorekeeper equals get tree scene dot get node and that's going to be the scorekeeper. Does that work? And the scorekeeper has a score. One thing I will say, if you get spam messages such as cheap views, etc., copy the whole message, including the timestamp, and click username, click the 3 dots, report spam, and then paste the message in, including links to timestamps. Receive an email from Twitch about receiving the report, and in most cases, 2 to 4 minutes later, you'll receive an email, reaction report. Huh. Nice. That's actually, yeah. Because they're pretty much standardized messages as well, I would imagine. Nice. Yeah, I've also been liking the shared stuff. There's been a few times when I've seen the shared stuff work as well. So the combined, what's it called? Community, not roles. What's it called? Where are they? Can't remember where it is. Shared bans, yeah. The shared ban info I share with Canny and Temtic, and that's also caught up, flagged up some people. Yeah, that's a good point. Helping out other channels. I never know how to share articles at work. Lately, I've been waiting a few days on everything, which results in no shared information, which is considerably better than me spamming their channel with articles. With work, I'd basically say ask if there's a channel that's useful for posting things and if people are wanting to learn. There's a few people at work I share with, and I basically just paste the videos, the articles to them, and they kind of mark them. But, you know. See, that's the sort of thing where lunch and learns and things like that come into play. Like, it would be good to have regular discussions or whatever. I miss that. Yeah. Yeah, if you get a specific channel set up for it, people can pick and choose. It's also good to kind of gauge, how much interaction you're getting. Are people just putting the thumbs up? Are they like putting different emojis in there to tell you that they have different opinions on it? Or are they posting any responses? It's why it's actually kind of like why I like if I'm in a stream and it's quiet, I'll be very chatty to try and encourage activity because people see activity, they follow along with activity. So, trying to encourage discussion on some of those things might yield more interaction and an understanding of, okay, well, here's the type of articles people like and here's the information people are interested in, and be able to post more pointed articles as well. Been quieter in busier channels later. It used to be the same everywhere. Yeah, I tend to dip out once things get a little bit too busy. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to, in the game over screen, get the score so I can use the scorekeeper, and then what do I want to do? Do I want to get a UI node from here? Because what I'm thinking is, what I'm trying to do with the game stuff is trying to understand the dependencies, like the who knows about what when, what's the right way, what's the best way to gather the information. So this screen will show automatically when I die. So what I'm looking at here is, let's add another child node, and that's a text. And that's going to be, I don't think I need that anymore. What should this be, right? Okay, that is centered, okay. Yeah, okay. I am using the fact that it's centered. So this is score label. Theme overrides. Colors. Font sizes. So again, I'm just trying to learn. Scroll label. So in here now, do I do private rich text label, scroll label equals get node I did call it scroll label, okay. And then equals scorekeeper.score. Not sure when we refresh that. Oh, let's see. So it's quite fascinating to me, the differences in how I'm developing some of this stuff, like the randomness at which I'm attaching things. Well, that ain't good. Oh, there you go. Score goes here. We didn't. Oh no, it errored very badly. Very bad. So that was because of that, right? Huh. Word game or script screen. Is that right? Get tree. When does this start is the question. You gotta be running the right thing. If you run in Godot, it doesn't debug. If you run in Rider, it does debug. Probably should fix that. I'm going faster than the actual bullets that are firing at my gun. Ooh. There we go. Okay. So, scorekeeper we have. Score is 1,000. That's fine. Score label is null. So, does this work in here? Get parent. What is that parent? Our parent is main scene. So if we do get node, no, get tree, get. I want to find out where I am. .98 get this dot get children. Get child. Oh, that takes an integer. Okay. Index. Okay. Get children. That's but so I can't. How do I get a node? Godot get Dragon Cult. Welcome in. Thank you very much for the raid. Appreciate it. How's things? How was your stream? Hi, Shiloh. Whoa, 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 whoa. My apologies, Shiloh. I just deleted your message. That was the that was not intentional. I was clicking on something and the screen moved up. Hi, Apex. How you doing? Stream was good. Made a lot of progress thanks to Shiloh here. Nice. Yeah, I'm learning Godot. Yeah, yeah. I'm good. I'm good. So I haven't seen you before. So learning Godot. So for reference, I'm an experienced .NET developer who is trying his hand at game dev, GD extension path. Well, the caveats don't really. So for me, the benefit is it's C#. I'm very comfortable with C#. I've been doing .NET for 20 years, so it's not new to me. So it's a comfortable world. Dragon Cult, thank you very much for the follow. Appreciate it. So I've taken to doing some game dev a couple of days a week. It's fun. I can learn new things. I can struggle through new problems. So, yeah. So what I'm playing with right this second is I'm trying to build a simple shoot 'em up. The purpose being, I think it gives me how to move around the screen, how to use the camera, how to do collisions, how to change scenes, etc. It gives me a lot of things to do. Thank you very much for the follow, Shiloh. Welcome in. So I've been working on this for a couple of weeks, going back and forth, doing different things, trying to use different techniques, because a lot of the things that I do in regular app dev don't really apply to game dev. So I've been trying to learn a lot of different things, and there we go. That's what I've done so far. So I've done some refactoring, done some moving things around, struggled through some some mess. Apex, some weird API differences, some missing APIs that GD scripts and C# has. Plugins are finicky with C#, and overall support and integration isn't as great. Lastly, platform support is lacking. Engine calls are slower, but still great choice. Yeah, for what I'm doing here, it's not going to make a difference, right? I'm not going to be developing the next AAA game, so I'd rather be in a language that I'm super comfortable with and learn at the same time than start with GD script, figure out all the frustrations, the styles, etc. Yeah. Yeah, no worries. So the differences in how they work doesn't really make a big. I know there's things like the web deployment and stuff doesn't work in C#, Godot, things like that, but that isn't going to affect me. So normally, so I do game dev a couple of days a week, and then I'm building a larger application, an actual application, on the other days of the stream, where I'm building a project management tool. So I do a lot of databases, a lot of messaging, distributed system stuff, etc., etc. So I play around with all sorts of technologies. And games I love. I collect games. I love playing games, and yeah, it's so it's always been a passion. It's just something I've never got my head around game dev. So here we go. I'll try and do it publicly. Mr. Jones, good afternoon. How you doing? So, but the rule on the stream is if you have any questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, you're more than welcome to pass them. As long as you're polite, I don't mind. And I'm happy to discuss stuff. Good to hear, happy to see an experienced developer. Yeah, so the programming part is not the new part. The figuring out how to wire it all together and learn all the challenges and pitfalls that come with it is the is the new things. I haven't done anything yet where I've seen a missing API in C# and was under the impression that C# is more performant. Yeah, I don't know. I do like, so rather than pick up Unity or something, Godot is using the latest version of C#. So it does mean I can stay in that comfort zone, whereas with Unity, it's still slightly out of date at this point. What's it doing? Oh yeah. But no, thank you very much for the raid, Dragon Cult. I do appreciate the I do appreciate that. I'm doing that many different things. I've got that many tabs open. Sorry for the bright white screen. That's why. Okay, so that works as long as I go navigate. So game over. So if I go vbox container, is that right? Let's see. No. Unique names will be your favorite friends with no references. Gotcha. Morning, Canning. Oh, good day, Canning. How are you doing? Okay. So, Ryder is live. I love Ryder. Writing tests before implementing things. Good job, some TDD. So, on the node, accesses unique name. So now, do I have the ability to go in there and do that? Is that what I do? Let's see. Probably should lower the time to die. Okay, so F10. Oh, because it said get parent. The test class is 800 lines. Are you testing the world? Things with game dev, I'm learning. I'm learning. Okay, that did get it that time. Okay, yeah, there we go. Oh, you're doing integration testing. It has some caveats depending on where you're referencing it from. So normally you reference your descendants between your names, but you can technically access ancestors too. You have to run from Godot to save scene. I'm very quick on my Control S, so it worked. It got it that time. So here, now it should work. Yeah, okay. Gotcha. Okay, you're writing integration tests. Okay. I was going to say, if you're writing unit tests and you've got 800 line test files, you're probably testing a little bit more than you should be doing. Oh. That is because of that subscription. Another film. I had to clip all allocations. Yeah, I don't want to make a mess there. Unit test as much as possible, only when the integration test should be horrible or not. I don't know why you'd avoid unit tests, but okay. Unit tests quicker to write than integration tests, but each to their own. So the problem here is that what I've done is I've gone through and found the enemies and then attached a game over event, which in the case where they are already, that's what I was doing with this. Okay, that's what I was doing with Enemy Manager. I was tracking the enemies, so I don't have to do this every time. So this gets a list of the enemies, and then as they die, I'm not removing them from this list, therefore the subscriptions are still valid. What I need to do is when they die, I need to unsubscribe the event and clean up that reference. Often have unit tests working because the logic. Freddy Gamer, thank you very much for the follow. Often have unit tests working because the logic of the units is so super simple, but in the overall context they crash and the integration test check already if the units work is good enough. Okay. Code is beautiful. I wouldn't say that. It's evolving, that's for certain. Okay, so I'd already determined last week that I was going to put an enemy manager in to track this, right? So the game manager doesn't do the enemies, which is a good separation of responsibility. So the enemy manager. Let's do that for now. Sorry, I had to move because the light comes through the sliver of the blind there. Okay, so the point of this was to find the enemies that But if something breaks, you don't know what broke without inspection, which can take up more time. Unit tests can help show what unit broke and why. A helpful side effect to unit tests is that document your code too, if they're well written. They definitely can, and they should document your code usage. Different approaches. Integration tests are harder to set up, take longer to develop, but I suppose once you've got a framework in place, they're not that difficult. This function is amazing. Okay. So in here, on player death, on game over. This is going to change a little bit because what I want to do is I need to be able to keep track of these enemies, but also remove them from this collection when they are dead, because then they don't need to be told about game over. So I need to remove the... so you might prefer notification method with notification pre-delete enum value. Gotcha. Notification pre-delete. I'll make a note of that. I mean, at the end of the day, with the unit testing / integration testing, it's what matters more is that you have confidence in your coverage and that you are confident that you are going to find problems. That's why that's there. But we're going to have a reference to the enemy manager. So, I'm going to do things that are ineffective. I'm going to do things that are maybe don't go with what you would do if you're experienced at this. That's okay. I'm going to learn my way through this. I'm going to take on advice. I'm going to take on new information. And the problem for me is if I don't see it, if I don't understand how to wire it up, I struggle to just go off and implement it. So sometimes I need to get to that point where I get the aha moment, and then it all clicks. So if I am frustrating at times, do forgive me. But yeah, enemy manager dot. So that will be enemy manager on game over. That should probably be a signal of some form anyway. I'm not subscribing to it. I want to invoke it. Tree is dangerous because it's a bit misleading. When you change the parent of the node or another parent that you don't know it's getting called. Notification predelete should also... There's a destructor method instead of notifications. No. The advice is wanted. I just don't be offended or don't assume that I'm still trying to get my head around a lot of things in here and try and understand the structuring of things. So I might not implement something straight away. I might go off and do it my own way, even if it looks wrong or there's pitfalls. Sometimes I'm going to hit those pitfalls. So I'm not ignoring it. I'm just trying to grow that understanding. So I appreciate the input. I'm not looking for, no backseating. I think I actually have backseating welcome in there. So thank you. Change parents like his enter and exit code. Also, I made my integration test very lightweight. Most defined couple of data call the endpoint is a services. Check the data afterwards. Yeah. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm going to create an enemy manager object that's going to track the enemies. I'm going to, when a enemy is deleted, I'm going to need to know. So on visibility change, on unit hit, collision occurred. Invoke. So this has a collision occurred event. I scoreable. So I'm kind of working out certain things, right? So here, if I do it this way, then I've got I care about game over. That's fine. But what I probably want for right this second is enemy. I care about game over. And yes, I am using that. No, not a class. Sorcery, good day. How you doing? So, if you don't know, I'm going to shout out in the order I know. Canny is also, well, Canny is a game developer. I'm not going to say also a game developer. I'm not classing myself there yet. One day. With no type solution which is inferred with Godot node and so I care about game over. I enemy. I scoreable. An enemy is enemy. Is that going to stop? Yeah, that's going to cut because it's resolved that there's instances where they are nodes. That was the problem there. There's actually. How are things over here? All good? Yeah, I'm kind of trying to find my legs every time, right? The challenge with not doing this every day is that I'm basically stopping and I don't have any spare time to go back and continue on. So when I start on a Monday, it's been 6 days since I last did the game dev stuff, so it's going to take some time. You can nodes instead of having relative path. The solution would be exports, but having the reference outside of a code is a nightmare. It's a learning process, yeah. So an enemy is a scoreable and it cares about game over, which means that in the enemy manager now I can do this, but I can also do on collision detected. No, I need to subscribe to enemy collision detected. It's funny, my brain, I'm not getting my head around collision occurred. This event is an on. The interface, that's why. Oh no, it is. It's on iScoreable. But that's... you know, you deal so little with events for so long, and because I do a lot of web dev, right, I don't have to deal with events in this form, like actual .NET events. It's been a long time since I did things like WinForms and stuff. So what I'm trying to do right this second is get my head around. So I want to notify, this is an event that I can invoke. When this happens, I want to notify the enemy game over. But I also care about knowing when the enemy has had a collision and therefore been removed. So I remove it from this list so I can unsubscribe the events. I'm not sure of an alternative approach. My approach is very naive. I only use get node on child nodes and use name of instead of unique names. I haven't had that duplicate nodes under one node yet, so I don't really have a solid approach either. Maybe need to look at union name approach. Gotcha. So here I want to do private void notify collision I enemy. Well, no, that's going to be I scoreable. And then we're going to do enemy dot collision occurred. Right, because that's going to change this list. I use unique names everywhere, but also I have a code generator that writes the code, binding code. Technically, you could write code generator allows you to give access. Yeah, I never did finish the part. I tried to help you with that. So, what? Add a nested code comment. Oh, yeah. So ultimately, what I want to do is I don't want this list here, right? I do want the list there. I just don't want the variable there. So, private list enemies. Go with list because we can remove from it. Enemies equals that. Right. Now it should be a reference. Yeah. Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah. Okay, so that should be a reference. So actually, it's doing what I want to do there, right? So this is the nice. We're not going to quite do that, but that's removing it's taking the enemy out of the list and unsubscribing the event, which should stop the problem. So further, pass the scene file, make the get note for all of them automatically when you make something like enough used to write. I think TBD started also with it. Yeah, I did. Scene parser. See, I've got it. It's the third one in my list. I actually used a library called Sprake to parse the file out, but it got stuck on some stuff. So it got like the fields and stuff. So it did. I'll have to pick it up and figure out where I was with it, but it was parsing it out so you could actually get the entire scene. So it would, but it would actually build it out the way that you asked. It just got stuck on some pieces, so I was going through the cases. Okay. So what this should do, this should track the enemies, right? But the problem is right now I'm not triggering this event. So my game manager, when the player death occurs, so the player's dead, I want to say enemy manager. Why are you not doing that? Why do you not allow that? I'm not subscribing. I'm not. It's an event. I'm not subscribing to it. On Game Over plus. Yeah, that's why. So the game manager now can do enemy manager game over. Enemy manager game over. It's recently, but it doesn't. I mean, Godot lives from contributions. I also love seeing more and more C# users. Hopefully, C# gets more love. That's kind of funny because I do see a lot more people saying. Sorry, Sorcerer, I missed that. He determined that that word was not nice. Yeah, somewhere in the deep future, I have not the velocity from the beginning anymore, and also my overlay is currently sparking much more stupid than ADHD brain. I do notice as developers, we are all very happy to kind of be very much down on ourselves. We're all happy to criticize ourselves and blame ourselves for being dumb or stupid or whatever. Yet we achieve, on a daily basis, we achieve lots of very cool things that fascinate a lot of people. Like, we are able to manipulate these machines into doing the things we want them to do, for the most part. We shouldn't be as down on ourselves as we are. Currently experimenting with VRM and hand tracking in Godot to get my VTube avatar running in Godot, and it's currently on a good way. Nice. Also, should have enough time now. Apex does stream as well. And it's a very nice chill stream to go and hang out in. You know, all of them doing very different projects. It's fun to go see the differences. Everyone, go stream tonight. Missed the weekend one. Yeah. I find streaming is easier when I get in a routine. If I break the routine, it's easy to put it off. Much easier to say, you know what, I'll stream next week or something. It's fine. I'll stream tomorrow. The more you put it off, the easier it gets to put off. Dogs stalking around the living room. Okay, so what I need to do now is my game manager needs to be given a reference to my enemy manager, and this is where I'm still kind of getting my head around things, right? So I can't just let's build. Speaking seriously, I've also noticed that I guess it's our own disconnect between what we can achieve and what we want to achieve. Sometimes it's not clear cut and it makes us feel bad. I guess that happens with every creative field. Yeah, you got to remember that software development in general, not just game dev as the intersection more of art and programming, right, than regular app dev. But I still consider developing code as being quite an artistic craft when it's done right. But yeah, the creative nature of it tends to have us be quite critical of ourselves. And we compare ourselves constantly to everybody else. Like, there's people expecting miracles from themselves. What are you doing, dogs? That's quite the line to get the player node. Yeah, and I don't need to do it that way anymore either. Because I assign it. I assign the player. So that was wasteful. But again, it's those things that are gonna, as I grow with using Godot as the API, like we said before, I'm gonna get, oh, that's inefficient. I shouldn't do it that way. Here's the better way of doing it. Right? Those are all the things you get to learn as you do. So I will improve. Add the player node to a group and fetch it from there. Yeah, but that was earlier on where I didn't. Again, who knows what about what, right? This knows everything about everything right now. So when I'm fighting that, I'm going to do things like, okay, well, I need to get a reference to the player, therefore, yeah. So, because that's a script, add child node, why does that need to be a node 2D? That's a, okay, that lets me do that, and then that lets me assign that. Let's see if this works now. Look, dog time. Yep. I might have to do my dogs as well because they're wandering around. They'll get themselves in trouble. Also, by the way, as I am providing shout outs, and Twitch does not allow me to shout out too many people. Sorcery as well. You should have had a very productive day on Friday, right? And is coming back. 0 points. There we go. And no errors. But then again, I cleared everything up, so let's have a go. Oh no. Oh no, I'm going to die by finding the bullets. 1,000 points. There we go. So, uh-oh. Not quite run away, but it's still causing a problem. Charlotte, thank you very much for the gift sub. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. What time is it? 1:30. I just managed to actually make more than I thought on Friday. I was sleepy though. Nice. Eh? Okay, I need to go BRB because I just need to check on the dogs. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, the dogs were wandering around, and I realized my daughter had left our front door open, so they were being good, staying in the house. That would have been bad. Okay, so I still have a disposed problem. And actually I need to pay attention to where that was. Can access Godot object base, notify on enemy, notify on game over. So it's this one that's actually the problem. Q3. Okay, so that's because the enemy is doing that. Okay. Well, hold on. That's fine. Q3. So that suggests this same thing's happening. This isn't. Oh. If enemy is I enemy, so we only notify collision on scoreable. So I could probably change this around afterwards, but it won't let me do that. No way. No, that'd be awesome. Scored. That works better. Short circuit that to get out. Don't like our curly braces. So we don't have to cast that now. We can remove it from the list, and we can unsubscribe from the event, which was the problem. That's why it wasn't happening as frequently, because it wasn't trying to do it. Okay, so let's try that now. Oh. So let's get a score. There. 1,000 points. And no errors. So we're releasing the right things, we're unsubscribing from the right things. We don't have a mess. Game over, 1,000 points. Nice. Introduce enemy manager. Going to commit that. We're going to push that now. I'm going to go. So, not exactly going to set the world on fire, but this is up there in Git. If anybody's interested in the code, you're more than welcome to have it. So there's some invisible hole must see on the ends to universal spiders that come. Oh no. Okay, pull request. I think we're at the point where this can be merged. Ugh. No spiders. Okay, so we got the first Godot game there. So now we can do main, fetch, pull. This will probably cause some reload fun. There you go. Let's close that. Let's close that. So again, we should be able to run this now. Okay. So there we go. So we got. So we can game over. We have no errors because we're releasing all the events and stuff. We're cleaning up things. Things are working. Also, peppermint spray is a gimmick. That hasn't made the spiders move out. Well, depending on where you live, fire's an option. I mean, you might not have a house, but no, I'm glad I live in the northeast US. The number of poisonous species isn't as high. Yeah, I would never like to live in somewhere like Australia. I'd love to be in Australia, but I wouldn't want to live there for too long because or even south here. Okay, so we have enemies, we're tracking them, we're removing them. So because everything's a reference, these are all references to these entities. This will clear these up properly. It will remove the reference as well, which means garbage collection would actually do the right thing. If garbage collection is invoked, depending on when garbage collection is invoked, because I see that Q3 is a little bit low level. So yeah, okay. So we have the enemy manager, we have the game manager. Might not be stunning, but it does work. We can see the score. We can end the game. So the next thing to do would be to end the game properly. Actually, create a not a game over, but an end of level screen. So the camera hits this stop, or rather the level hits the camera stop here. When these two collide, the level stops moving. What's the advantage of an interface eye enemy over superclass eye enemy? No real advantage. I mean, I'm just declaring that there's behavior, right? So with eye enemy, I care about game over and eye scoreable. Right now, they're the same thing. So refactoring, yeah, it does give me more composition because with C# you can't use multiple inheritance, so I couldn't combine behaviors. So enemy is a good way of doing that. Although with C# 9 or .NET 9, C# 13 or whatever it is coming, composition becomes a little bit more possible through extension types. But this does give me some to me, like this eye standard is not really followed much anymore. People don't kind of like interfaces being prefaced with I. I mean, it's the one time that I preface things, like the old styles where you put str or, int, you kind of put the type into the name, etc. This is the kind of a leftover from that time, but I like it because I do things like this. I care about game over. I use the I as part of the thing, but I also then follow the standard because if I have an enemy and I want an interface of enemy so that I can subclass enemy properly and base its behavior off things, then what do I name this if I want it to be anything other than an interface? If I want it to be an interface, I can't call this enemy interface. That would be yuck. So having the interface does allow me to combine these things, right? So I can say an enemy cares about game over and is scoreable. For what I'm doing, it's really contrived because I can simplify this. Yeah. So, but there is a suggestion. People do like the suggestion. So what people will do is this enemy would be tank and the interface would be enemy, right? So this is too generic, too enemy. Yeah. So people, if we're being realistic, this is pretty generic when it's not really enemy. Because if you actually look at how I implemented it as well, a tank. So I have an enemy script, but then I have a tank, and it's very specific to this behavior, right? So, not very oop. But yeah. So what do I want to do next? I think next I want to transition to a second level. So if I have another scene, create new scene, level 2. So that is, so now how does that work? Interesting. Okay, so challenges that I can see straight away, right? What does level 2 mean, right? Do I create another version of this, but then I have to put all these elements onto that level again, and then I have to figure out how to track the scorekeeper has to live across both levels. So that's a challenge, because this scorekeeper instance is clearly added to my main scene. Do I create a main scene that loads in level 1 as a scene, so most of this is level 1? Look, God needs attention. Probably I bring him out. You've got God in your house? No worries, Kenny. Thank you very much for the luck. Scorekeeper could be an auto load. Design decisions are fun. Yeah. So this comes into, I think Captain Fubar was suggesting that the tanks don't need to be instants like this. They could be part of the tile map, which I didn't quite get my head around yet. Because realistically, what I could do is, this scene is level 1, right? And the things that happen in it could be, so this is the game structure, whereas this is the actual level, and then I'd swap out the level, right? So if I do save branches scene, and we call that level 1, right? That's that. Junikas, hello, how you doing? Been a while. Yeah, I could use a mix of autoloads or mimic the behavior by dynamically loading and unloading nodes. Also can use inherited scenes, so you have template nodes for each level. What are you up to? Been a while. What am I up to? I've switched to game dev on Mondays and Tuesdays for a little while. Drink Water is not gone. It's just I was doing too much development on it. No, it's a shoot 'em up. It's a shoot 'em up right now. So I've taken to. Oh no, I broke everything. I've taken to doing some game dev to kind of break up the to basically, yeah, um, keep myself entertained and engaged. I think that works better on a stream rather than getting stuck in the mud. So Drink Water is still in a good place. It's just I did so much on it that it's moving to the point where I'm doing all the development. What's the point? So we're going to keep using this as a reference application. Potentially do some development on this tomorrow based upon how much progress I made today on this. Trying to pick up a different UI framework. Main app is still going, obviously. yeah, so I'm just trying to learn my way around Godot and improving that. So the problem there was, that's interesting. So I moved this back to this radar idea. So basically, the enemies get attached to radar. The radar is what has the reference to the player, right? So that the enemy doesn't need to track the player. I'm enjoying myself. I mean, I'm doing hacky things sometimes, I'm certain, but it's fun. So when the radar starts up, it gets the game manager. The game manager has the player, and when the enemy needs to fire, it calls fetch target on the radar, and the radar feeds it the position at which it's going to aim. So the enemy never has a direct link to the player, and again, the projectile now just knows about being a projectile. It doesn't know about the player, which is a modification we made at one point. So the problem there is, by moving that to a scene, this radar So I feel like what I could do is, if I could figure out how to make this its own scene. Oh, so much game jargon. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've games are kind of something I love doing, right? And I'd love to get into game development. It's just so difficult to get my head around some of these pieces. But this is just to keep myself energized and occupied, and not doing all the stuff on water drink water, so I can not let it go too far ahead. Because if it goes too far ahead and I'm doing all of it, then it becomes difficult for people to join in on. So I can flex that a little bit more. So game dev seemed like a good option. I can do some of this. People do enjoy watching game dev stuff. The numbers definitely prove that out on views. So yeah, as opposed to my normal streams. So if I switch this up, then all I have to do is, when I hit the end of the world map, so I have to have the breakpoints and stuff, but when that collides, then I can switch out the level, and then everything else remains the same. That means the scorekeeper remains the same, the projectiles, everything becomes the same. The challenge is I have to reset the enemy manager, etc., but that should be okay. I don't dislike them, but I feel I can contribute more and engage more in these ones. I'm also a software web dev, and you couldn't pay me to watch that. Well, unfortunately, Wednesday through Friday, that is what my stream is, but the game dev stuff is something I've been picking up, so. We pay him to watch it. Well, yeah. Yeah, so Wednesday through Friday I do the Liquid Sky project, which is a big distributed system. So it differs very much to this. So the problem there was references. You do enough work, you don't want to work outside of work. So for me, I have a bit of a different situation. I am doing that because I want to build a product. I am not currently a .NET developer. I got a new job, and it is not just over a year ago, and I'm not getting to do any real development. So the streams are me actually enjoying what I do. So there's a bit of difference. If I was doing it for 8 to 10 hours a day, I might have a little less energy left for doing something quite so big. But like I said, I've been a developer for 25 years. I still have the energy for doing it. I still love developing software. I love talking about software and building good software. So it sucks when you work on stuff you actually like to do, like programming. You work on it and play with it. Yeah. Yeah. So hobbyist wise, I can do both, right? So that should have put that back, right? They should be firing at me again. Yeah. So they're firing at me again. I'm not worrying about the bullet direction right this second. That can come later. Thanks for facing me. That's all that matters. Okay. So, okay, how do I do this then? Because what I'm thinking is I want to swap this out, and if I do instantiate child scene, hmm. So do I need a level that tracks the player, and then the radar can be given a reference to the player when it starts up, and that way they all know where they're firing. Hmm. Let's create a level script. Go for that first. Node. Export. No, that won't do that, will it? Because when I instantiate it, I'm going to have to... what was the issue with radar when it's dynamically loaded, or what if radar is outside of level and just updates position every frame? Yeah. So radar is attached there. It's just a node. Why did that need to be node 2D? I can't remember. Because I couldn't attach it to these when it wasn't node 2D. So the idea was to decouple the ownership of or the knowledge of what it was firing at. So again, the tank or the enemy gets a reference to the radar, so the radar tells it where to fire. And then the projectile doesn't have to have any knowledge. The projectile can just be dumb, which I think it should be. I had to drop for work. Thanks for the stream. Enjoy. Apex, thank you very much for coming hanging out. Appreciate it. Have a great day. So again, if player, because then I'd have to put a radar instance on every map, but you are right if it was not level specific. Let's have a look. Let's see if we can move the radar up. Right. Went to Chicago about 2 weeks ago. Went to Restaurant Convention. It was fun. Nice. Lots of walking. Never been to Chicago. It's one of the cities on the list of places I'd like to go and see. Although I've been in the house for so much of my time the last 2 years that I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with being around other people. Okay, so they should still have the radar reference. So let's see. Now with the radars outside of the world map, how does it do? Okay, so they're still firing at me. Okay. Okay, so if the world map is a level, okay, let's do it. Okay, so that's gone now. Now if we add, do I add? There we go, okay. Whoa. Level 1. And then that's there. That needs to go away. That's a level. Right? Then don't think I'm doing that right, but we'll find out. Export private radar. Radar. Leave them in the namespace. And then that has but then that. So again, part of what I'm learning here is more what do I have access to, what don't I have access to. So again, the radar on these is they now have no knowledge. So to do that, my enemy so again this radar here radar what? Again the enemy manager. Yeah. Again, the right way or the better way of joining these things up, referencing these things. I see there's so many different ways. I'm going to end up with many different techniques. Back, had to go do some tech support at my mum's. No worries. Tech support is important. On the phone with her ISP. Ugh. I will say, and cross fingers, I've had Verizon Fios for 4 years now, and I've had one outage. The billing hasn't jumped up drastically. Comcast jumped up over $150 over the course of 2 years. But their billing has been, and I get phone, TV, and internet for $200. In about 4 years, I've had one outage. I get consistently 800 to 900 meg up down. Is good. She's had a hub for 4.5 years, and they did lots of steps to rule everything out. They determined it needs an engineer visit. Ugh. Ugh. If that happens that way, I think the enemy manager lives on the level. 3 megabits guaranteed. She's getting 0.4 down and around 1 up. Ooh. That's terrible. For this day and age, that's really terrible. Wow. That's horrendous. I think when I left the UK in 2007, I was getting better connection than that. Oof. Yeah, but I thought it was capable of more than that. They don't have to have fibre, do they? They can still achieve more with the copper lines. I suppose it's distance from hub, all those sorts of fun things. They tested it and claimed she's getting 1 meg down. Yeah, but she's paying for 3, so it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if it's 1, right? Ouch. Ouch. The service she's on is either 6 to 9 and 9 to 12 with 3 meg guaranteed. It's crazy to believe BT still make money. Ugh. Well, I never did give you that. Maybe I shouldn't suffer with inability to link anymore. 69 possibly 912, but we promised half of both, and that's a lie also, yeah. I mean, BT were never stunning, but that's. I didn't think it was still that far behind. I think when I visited my brother, he had like 50-50 or something like that, but yeah. Okay. Unfortunately, yeah, they guarantee 3. So they're hitting 1. They guarantee 3, so they're going to get out. Yeah. Yeah, I wired my computer in, so I get pretty fast connections. I'm getting about 820 up and down. out of a gigabit connection. Nice. And they're putting 2 gigabit in the area, so eventually I'll upgrade to that. Because, why not? Because I need that much more speed. Yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah. But anyway, unfortunately, I have to end the stream. I'm going to continue this tomorrow. I'm going to continue this world map stuff. What I'm thinking of is I want to basically figure out where the enemy manager, I think the enemy manager lives inside the map, so it tracks the enemies as part of itself. Oh, thank you. And so the enemy manager lives inside the map. The radar will get passed into when it loads the game manager will load the level, and assign the right pieces, and do it that way. So that's the way I'm going to aim at this tomorrow. See if I can make that work. Whether it's the right way or not, I'm going to learn, right? You saw me the other week pull all this apart and redo it, right? So I'm willing to do that. That's why I'm building this game, because I don't really care about it being an actual game. I care about learning some of the mechanics and the techniques, so, and making them repeatable. So 600 down, 30 up. And she asked me to load a speed test website on my laptop. It took about 45 seconds just to load. Oh no. They also fill them full of garbage as well, right? So, yeah. But anyway, let's go raid Mr. Foolbots. Foolbots develops a game, and it looks like he got accepted into Comic-Con. So, he'll be talking about that today. Background image loaded 1/5 at the time. It was the old days where JPGs would load slowly. The old days. Oh dear. I still remember getting the first 1 megabit connection and being like, whoa, this is so much faster than that dial-up. So, joy. Okay. So yeah, I'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Eastern. Thank you for the gift sub, Shallow. Thank you, Dragon Court, for the raid. That was awesome. An awesome way to start to get into the stream and get into things. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. And I'll see you then. So take care all. Bye.